When do they
Someone
stop
that
being? When do they stop being an ex and just become a
someone I
model
used to know.
citizen?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe after a year or two, you can't keep calling someone an ex. That's ridiculous.
The ex expires
It
after a
means
year
you
or
are
two.
still holding on to them. And I would wear plastics on my shoes so they don't get dirty. You have to be clean. Otherwise, what's the point?
It's playing. Sneakers are meant to be dirty.
Dare you say such words?
Green light, you know the deal. Green light, license to kill. Green light. Hi, we're back at Middy's Coffee Shop on Josiah Tongogara Street between 13th and 14th Avenue for the third episode of our podcast. I sat down with Barbs, the Emotional Alchemist, a psychotherapist, radio personality, author, and the mind behind bold dialogue and stringed moments. This is Dijuni on Pod. I am Dijuni. Hello, welcome to Dijuni on Pod. We are here today joined by Barbs, the Emotional Alchemist. Welcome.
Thank you.
For those watching, Barbs is a psychotherapist.
Why are you saying it that way?
Are you not?
Mm-hmm. You
A
could call
psycho
it's one
therapist?
word, but now it sounds like something
Do not
else.
mock my speech impediments.
Oh, okay.
Also, big in radio,
Yes.
the people's radio, the person on the people's radio,
Yes. The people behind the People's Radio.
the people behind the people's radio,
Yes.
an author,
Oh, yeah.
and the creator of Bold Dialogue, a show with a cult following in our city. Welcome.
Thank you
How
for
are you?
having. I'm good, and you?
Well, I'm halfway good. I got one eye that's misbehaving. I got a wandering eye today.
Should I be worried? Oh, am I safe?
Depends.
Ah.
Will yours helmet?
Yeah, I came prepared. I'm wearing a helmet.
So I was telling you that this happened in high school during a time when I was really excited. The first time it happened. That's when it's like pins and needles. I don't know what I'm reacting to, but it happened.
But you were really excited.
Yes, I was really excited because there was an election which looked like it was going to turn into violence in Kenya. So they closed our school for 2 weeks.
Oh, that's why you were
I was
excited.
excited. I got to go to my best friend's house for 2 weeks.
Mm.
So, American school, everybody was worried. They were leaving the country and everything. We were like, party time. And then one night, this happened. And I didn't know what to do, so I didn't want to be the bummer guy, but hey.
I have so many theories in my head, but I won't go into them.
It's a safe thing. Care to share with the class?
I think it's too soon.
Too soon?
It's too soon.
We'll get bolder as we go. So
I hope so.
let's go to things which aren't too soon. Tell us about Barbs as a child.
As
Take
a
us back to-
child.
What were you like?
Mm.
That's where I always like to start. What were you like?
I used to talk a lot.
Used to.
I've changed. I no longer talk
You
that
talk
much.
for a living.
Oh, yeah, I do. So I've always been talking. At least now I'm putting it to good use.
To good use.
Yes, I'm monetizing the
Yeah.
gift. I used to be. Oh, I will share 3 interesting things about
Let's
my
go.
childhood. The first one, I still have no sense of direction. I still get lost even now. But I remember this other day we got lost on our way from school to the house. So
Who were you with?
we were staying in Emakandeni. So there was a main road that you just followed and got home. Then with my friends, we decided, let's take a shortcut. There was a sort of a bush nearby. But then the funny thing is, The bush was actually a shortcut. We were closer to home than following the main road, right?
Good things always happen in the bush.
But we got lost in the bush. And then me being practical, I'm always practical. I have solutions to everything. I started thinking we need to build a shelter because we are not going to live in the
You
bush.
just
We don't know.
completely gave up on finding home?
Just like that.
How many minutes was it before you were like,
I don't
guys,
even know.
we're starting our own tribe?
I was 6, so I don't know. But I was already planning what we were going to eat. I was looking for some fruit trees, I was so, I just figured, I'm never going home. That's it. I'm going to stay here since I don't know the way home. And then this guy, the funny thing, he greeted us by our names. Probably someone that we knew. But because I was lost, I was in lost mode. I couldn't recognize him. And then he was asking, what are you girls doing here? You'll be stolen, what. And then he just pointed us home. A few steps out of the bush, I could see the house. I'm like, there's my house. And I was about to circle here.
Like literally inches from home.
It could have been a minute, but I was so ready to settle down and to create and maybe put up a structure and something like that.
When I was a child, I do want to make fun of you, but when I was a child, we were playing hide and seek, and I fell asleep in a hiding. It was like the little, what do they call them, the fire breaks they put between the hedge. So I took off my shirts and I lay down there to kind of camouflage myself, and nobody found me, or nobody wanted to look for me, one of the two. And so I ended up being lost, and the entire neighborhood had to
went
look for
out
me
to
up
search
until
for
midnight
you
because my mom was just, you children lost my son, my only son. And then at midnight I woke up like, where's everyone else? Just literally in eye shot of the door.
Wow.
Away. But I was that good of a hider. So, not far from home.
Mm-hmm.
Second story.
The second story. I've always been a giver. I help people. But I didn't know that you don't take off what you're wearing. Whether it's shoes, I would take off my shoes and give to someone who came to school without shoes.
Okay.
Then I come home wearing socks that are filthy, and my mom is like, where are your shoes? I'm like, oh, there was this girl, she didn't have shoes, so I decided to help her. But you're not wearing shoes. But you can buy me more shoes. I didn't understand. Even a jersey, I remember I once took off my jersey and gave it to this girl. And it was cold. I came home freezing.
Where's your jersey?
I was helping someone in need. What do you mean, where is the jersey?
This reminds me of a story you told at Bold Dialogue. When someone brought you flowers.
No, that was just an insult. Who buys me flowers? I have allergies. Why would you buy me flowers?
He was trying to be sweet. It was meant to be a gesture where, he shows.
That's just an insult. I dumped this guy. He bought me, there are these cooking things. There is upehlo and upini and something else. I don't know what the third thing is. And he bought me that as a gift. I was so angry. And that was the end of the relationship. Who does that?
I think it's so tempting to do it as a joke. To go out and buy it.
As a joke maybe, but you can't say I have a gift for you with a ribbon tied. What the hell? What am I supposed to do with that?
Pop, a little bit of porridge.
I don't cook. I think cooking is a scam.
Okay.
I stand by that.
You stand by it?
Yes.
Eating?
I love food.
So where does the scam come in?
Who cares? I don't cook. I don't even own a stove. I don't own a pot.
Do you have anything for aesthetics, or it's just we're not even going to pretend? Because some people, they won't cook at all, but they'll have the fake kitchen with the fake...
No, I don't own a pot. Not even one pot.
So what was the petrol for?
Exactly.
You're gonna
That was
cook
an
it in your hands?
insult. I don't know. I don't even have a stove. What do I do with a stove?
I know what Jay-Z did. But okay, that's a different. He made fortune on the stove allegedly, in his upcoming as a
If you
young
see me buying a
pharmaceutical.
stove, it means crystal meth is nearby. That's all it means.
You're branching out in your career,
Yes, I'm diversifying the portfolio.
which is
See?
important.
Hmm.
Which is important. Third story.
Third story.
Sorry,
I
I'm gonna pause you right there. Nothing suspicious to see here. So, third story.
I I was that kid who would go playing outside with other kids carrying a chair because I couldn't sit on the ground. And I would wear plastics on my shoes so they don't get dirty. You have to be clean. Otherwise, what's the point?
It's playing. Sneakers are meant to be dirty.
Dare you say such words?
They're sneakers.
Now I don't wear plastics, but
You make sure you don't go places. Where the,
I do go places.
I mean, where the polos.
I am one of them.
Where
There's a
mud-
capital P
where there's
somewhere on my
mud and povo
forehead.
ship.
I'm the mayor of the povos.
The mayor of the povos.
Yes.
You're still a VIP amongst them. You realize that?
Really?
It's like because you're the mayor. You're not just a regular povo. You're giving yourself status among the povos.
They need someone to rule and lead.
So it's a they, not we. So you're not okay. I'm deeping it. So how do we get from a plastic on the shoes wearing, clothes giving, not home knowing, my English is great, not home knowing child to your interest in psychology?
Psychology. That's the interesting thing. I wasn't really aware of what psychology was.
Okay.
I wanted to do counseling. And the ex I was dating then said, "No, you are a psychologist. Counseling is too mellow for you."
What's the difference? Just for the
Here's the
povos.
difference.
For the povos.
Here's the psychology. Okay. Counseling. I don't know. Oh, psychology. We look at behaviors and how they are influenced by our thought processes, our experiences, our emotional standpoint, and how we relate to our environment.
Okay.
And like we make sense of your world.
Based on data.
Yes. Like your thought processes and your emotions, your experiences and stuff. Then with counseling, it's helping you find a solution to a problem. Like I don't need to go deep and find out whether this is generational trauma. Is it something running in the family? If you come, you are angry, we just deal with your anger issues. Like you can go to the gym and punch a punching bag, or you can scream, or you can run, or you can find something else to do, you know.
Be a comedian.
Yes, that could be your solution. And with psychology, it's wider than counseling, in the sense that there are so many schools of thought. Like me, I practice eclectic therapy. I do play therapy. Eclectic means it's a shabu shabu of methods that I
This
use.
is about to be a dictionary episode. What is shabu shabu?
There is this dish in Thailand.
Okay.
It's called a shabu shabu. So the shabu shabu, they bring raw ingredients to the table, and they put everything that you are ordering in there. It's cooked in one pot. and then you just dish it onto your plate and eat.
All right.
So you have your meat, your veggies, your whatever you're putting, your tofu, whatever you're putting into your
There's a
shabu
word
shabu.
I heard someone use for that, which I can't remember. It was so funny. And I gotta find it, and then I'll send it to you. Because I
Okay.
used to love saying, but I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't find it. But psychology, shabu shabu.
Yes, so that's eclectic where I do different things. So I love play therapy. I do art therapy. I also use Gestalt.
You use this. What is this?
These are like different methods
Okay.
for my therapy. I mix it up, so it's never boring with me.
Never bored.
No.
If I were to come in and you were to think of play therapy, what's an example of what that would look like?
We could use toys.
Lolita.
That's only one girl.
Okay.
She can only do so much. Don't burden the
I'm
girl.
monogamous with my toys.
Okay. Oh, okay. We can use, if we are going to go with one. Yeah, we can use Lolita.
Okay.
Are we having a therapy now? Session?
I don't think she has that much trauma yet.
Oh, that will be your trauma, not hers.
I see.
So we can use animals.
Mhm.
Like, you pick an animal. Just choose any animal.
Hamster. My teammates had a hamster that died very brutally. So, basketball teammate. His name was Brandon Reeves.
The hamster was Brendan Reeves.
No, the murderer who neglected it to death.
And you're choosing the hamster.
Yes. It was a great 2 weeks of our life. The hamster made us so happy.
Oh.
We would come back from games and he was just chilling.
What are hamsters famous for?
Wheels. They run
Running in circles.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your life, you are just moving in circles? You are not doing much. You are just moving in circles.
Now we're in therapy, aren't we? What happened to playing?
That's the part of
that's the game? I don't know. I think there are some days, or rather some tasks within the day which feel like they can get monotonous. But overall, I think there's enough to keep me feeling adventurous. We should start a racetrack.
Now you know, right?
Or a mechanic shop.
Oh, yeah.
Get them fixed out.
Then we can talk while we are fixing cars.
That could be therapy. Work therapy. Except I guarantee your
There's
shoes.
grease, I'm not touching.
Yeah, I was about
anything.
to say I guarantee your shoes would need plastics.
And my hands.
You already have gloves.
No, these are not for touching grease, please.
All you need is like the wine, what do they call them?
Those work gloves, the hard ones.
No, you already have gloves, but then you could just put the wine tips.
No. These gloves are not for touching grease and the dirty stuff.
They're for holding the clappers.
Yes.
I love it. Those clappers are a hit at the show we did, but that's a story for another day. So, the hamster. How would we use it in play therapy?
I feel we are going into a therapy session, are we?
Maybe later.
It will be fun just to make you cry, I mean.
It feels like a threat from Yoda.
But I'm not going to go there.
Are you ready to walk the path?
Path of tears, of water in your eyes.
One eye is already pretty watery, but I don't want you to steal credit from my allergies.
So, yeah, I use play therapy. It's fun, interactive, engaging, and it helps people when they don't know how to express their emotions. And one interesting thing I've noticed, males have a very limited vocabulary when it comes to emotions.
Okay.
Because Mostly they are raised not to be expressive, and real men don't feel, all that kind of nonsense. So it's easier when we are using toys, or we are drawing, or we are using clay or stones or whatever we are using. I usually work with whatever I have.
I completely believe that because most of like the emotional or I don't know if to call them psychological terms I know. I've had to learn them in an argument where it comes up that apparently this is happening. And then now you have to go in and say, okay, what's gaslight? And now you have to learn about it, but you're learning on the job. You know what I mean? So I do
Oh.
believe that the vocabulary is definitely limited. But what is it about play that brings out deeper expression of emotions? What unlocks emotions during play?
During play, we engage the inner child. If you are an adult, if you're a child, it's just the child coming out.
The outer, the whole
So
child.
it's the child there at play. But if you're an adult, it engages the inner child. So all these inhibitions, these facades that we put up for people, they kind of fall off when it comes to play therapy. I deal with and my specialty is inner child trauma and generational trauma. So everything works out.
Which is interesting because a lot of creative ideas for like comedy or just personally, they come out when I'm doing like playing with something else. That's when it'll be like, but what if, you know what I mean? Like you could be playing the guitar, completely thinking about the guitar, and then for two dots for two ideas, which is completely childish, come into your mind, and then you put it together and you have your comedy set. So
Wow.
that could be part of like the childish, the inner child coming out to
Yes,
play,
coming out.
which is very interesting. So you were talking about the ex who told you you're not a counselor, you're a therapist. How did we go? Like, how did that progress?
So I said I'm not sure about that. I'll do psychology for the first semester. If I like it, I'll continue. If I don't, I'm switching to counseling. And I was sold it on day one.
What happened in day one?
No, it just spoke to me like, oh, this makes so much sense.
And from there on, there was no
No
second
turning
guessing, no
back
doubt. You just
now.
knew that this is what I'm meant to do.
Yes.
Where,
And I knew definitely not educational psychology. I don't know. It's not my thing. I'm not a teacher.
fair enough. Were there things in your personal life which resonated with psychology, or was it just an intellectual exercise for you?
Here's the interesting thing. I went through all the disorders. You start feeling like you have everything. Everything you're starting, you could suffer from it.
Like when you go on WebMD at 2 in the morning and you're certain you'll be dead by 4.
You're ready, your will is written, everything, you've packed your things, you're ready to die, you're even like
So you were diagnosing yourself to say,
I could see everything. Like, I got so worried. I thought I'm losing my mind.
the whole brochure. And so you're like,
Everything, all the disorders, everything.
How then do you, like, for instance, someone like me, if I were to start, let's say, learning more about psychology, right? How do I stay out of the trap of like seeing everybody around me as, oh, that's a narcissist right there. Oh, that's a sociopath. Oh, I have this. I have ADHD just because I'm too lazy to focus in this class. Or I have this. How do you control that and still get more informed?
I think one of the things is to make sure you're not just projecting. One thing that one of my lecturers taught us was that we should start getting our own therapy, because it's very easy, and it's one of those things that you can do unawares, projecting your own issues onto a client. So I've been having therapy for years since I was a student.
That's interesting.
And you also get to identify what you're comfortable working with. I don't like working with addictions.
Why is that?
I don't know, they arouse something, a darkness. There's a dark cloud that rises in me. No, I am. When I was growing up, my dad used to be an alcoholic.
Mm.
I never liked the way things were around him, you know? And that's one of the reasons why I don't drink alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Although I've been told I behave like I'm the one who was drinking, but I'll be the sober one. And
But the
I can
life
be
of
the
the party.
designated driver, but I behave like a drunk person when I'm with drinkers, you know? I take their drinking to a whole other level.
Yeah, the catalyst.
Yes.
Which, okay, that is interesting. So you'd rather work with things where you're emotionally detached?
You should never be emotionally involved in your clients' issues. They are not your issues.
Mm.
Burnout will follow you, and you won't last long. I don't take ownership of my clients' issues. They are not mine.
Mm. That's interesting.
There is a difference. I know people like talking about empathy. Empathy is very tricky. I can never put myself in someone's shoes and experience whatever they've experienced, because that's what empathy is about. So that I experience or I feel however you felt. But we may lose a loved one, you know, but my relationship with the person is not the same as yours. So how I feel, you can never say you understand how I'm feeling, and I can never claim I know how you're feeling. I believe in compassion. Compassion is creating a safe space for you to express yourself, to feel however you're feeling, and help you navigate your emotions. I don't need to know how you are feeling because I can never really know how you feel about something.
Could a version of empathy be not necessarily knowing how, well, I guess that comes back to compassion, like you said, because I was thinking there are things which I might have lost someone in my life, and even though I don't know how you feel, I know where that loss took me. And so it comes back to, like you said, compassion, really,
Exactly.
even if I
I
don't
can't
know.
say I I understand. Oh, I know how you are feeling. I
Mm,
don't know.
mm.
I had an interesting conversation the other day. This girl was telling me that it's now 5. She had 4 miscarriages, right? So
Oh,
she
I thought you were saying the time is now. Like,
no, 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 it's now 5 miscarriages. She had another one 2 weeks back.
what is it?
So I was listening to her. She was telling me about how all this is affecting her and everything. So we happened to be somewhere, a different platform. She wasn't in therapy or anything. And I was sharing about my own miscarriages. But the difference is, when I had the miscarriages, I was still dealing with the cancer and everything. So that the cancer, maybe surviving, I don't know, surviving the cancer was more important to me than anything else, you understand? And it's been years. I only started grieving for the miscarriages like 2 years back,
Mm,
you understand? So with her, she goes through the grieving immediately because that's what normal people do anyway. But the circumstances are different. So I can't tell her I understand how she feels, because for me, when it happened, there were other pressing issues. So I can't relate to that. You understand? I know what losing your pregnancy is like, but my grief is like many years later. His is immediate. So I can't come to someone and say, "Oh, I know how you're feeling. I've been there. I've not been there. I don't know." For me, it's unresolved trauma that I'm just dealing with now.
For her, it was in the moment. She was going
Yes.
through it.
And she is really trying to be a mother and all that stuff. So there's so many things. You can't tell someone, I know how you're feeling. I don't think even twins can really tell that the other person is feeling what they are feeling. There is some difference somewhere. So I don't believe in empathy. I think it's a trauma response. It's me now projecting my own unresolved issues. Then I pretend I really get you.
There's something interesting which I kind of was thinking about. The timing of dealing with issues. You talked about how you compartmentalized dealing with the cancer, and you had to put all the psychological thoughts of the miscarriages on the side. Do you find that a very useful way, or is it important to get better in every way possible? Or should you prioritize, and then once you have a certain aspect of your mental health, you move on to the next pressing? And how do you prioritize if you do that?
I don't think it's a conscious decision. It just happens. Take for example, I was either recovering from an operation or what. So it was like it just happened. I had to focus on that. And I never thought it was in my head. I thought maybe that was the dealing with it, but apparently not. That's why I'm starting to deal with the losses now. But any loss that you encounter in life, you will grieve for it. It doesn't matter when. Sometimes life does not afford you the luxury of grieving right there, right now, because I had, like I said, 14 operations. You are in and out of hospital. I even had a room at Rhino
14.
Park.
That's a lot.
Yes, I know. I'm very strong. You can punch me here.
I will do it after the cameras go off for plausible deniability.
So I had other things, more important things to worry about. Like you are always in the hospital. Something is happening. And I've been deaf, for 9 months I was deaf. I couldn't hear.
Right. The car story.
Until Son of a Gun.
Could you please just for me retell the story of Son of a Gun?
Son of a Gun was loud. I got him when I was deaf.
What car was it?
It was a Honda Integra. So he was so beautiful. He was black and sexy. But I thought he was the most silent car.
You thought he was a puma.
He just purred. So I would drive Son of a Gun. 9 months. Then this day, I'm coming from Mediclinic. We were using one car. So I went and dropped. Is this still an ex? Someone's son that they stop being an ex at some point. You can't.
When do they stop being? When do they stop being an ex and just become
someone
a model
I used
citizen?
to know? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe after a year or two, you can't keep calling someone an ex. That's ridiculous.
The ex expires.
It
after
means
a year
you are still holding on to them. So I went.
Is it wrong to maintain positive memories of people after the relationship is over?
Oh no, I have some wonderful memories. I have some wonderful memories.
So then, do they need to expire if you have wonderful memories together? For instance, there's an ex who we had like no fights in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We ended because of a difference which we couldn't resolve, a family member.
Oh.
but but internally there were no fights. So I forgot where I was going with that. But does the ex still expire if there's no animosity?
I don't know. I just feel like we are now at a point where we are just people who used to know each other.
After a
you
year,
know,
you're milking it.
like exactly what am I milking? You can't just keep calling someone your ex. I think it's just a way of hanging on to something. It's the same with people who say they are having their revenge body. That is so fucked up, you know?
Because you're still holding on to that person as the
Exactly.
reason for
It's your
your
body.
raison
Do
d'être.
what makes you happy. Why are you trying to make someone jealous who's no longer in your life?
And why did you wait?
That is so twisted.
Why
Exactly.
did you wait?
You see? So I went to drop off someone I used to know. Oh, a friend.
A former comrade of the nation.
Yes, former comrade. We used to be comrades in arms and in other
in
things.
each other's arms.
Yes, in each other's arms. So I'm driving home. I get to. We were staying in Windhoek, right?
Yeah.
So I would drive past the State House going home. So I'm somewhere around the
Must
State
have been
House.
a real Povo neighborhood.
Because we are people's people.
You're the people's people.
You know. So I'm hearing this loud noise. I'm like, there's a motorbike behind me. I check. I'm not seeing anyone. And you know, I have a crazy imagination. I'm like, ooh, it must be a phantom motorbike. Maybe it's a ghost, someone died. You know,
Ghost riders coming.
You know, I'm hearing this sound. It keeps following me. I'm like, huh? Why is the phantom bike following me? Now that's what I'm asking myself. I'm now in Olympia. The next location before...
I think around the presidents, they call them the next suburb.
I don't... Hey, I'm a people's person.
My location? Yeah.
Okay,
around the
fine.
White House.
Fine, the next step up before I get to where I stay, to
the
mine.
next burb, the next cul-de-sac.
Yes. So I'm like, I need to stop. I parked on the side of the road. And then the noise stops. I'm like, this phantom bike, what's happening? It's not occurring to me that I can hear.
Exactly, like after 9
and I'm
months.
like, what is happening? I start the car. I hear again. I look. I even checked, like opened the window and looked outside the car. And what is happening? Am I being haunted?
Because they're stalking you at
Did
that
I
point. You
anger
stop,
a
they
biker?
stop.
And I have a thing for bikers, you know.
Talk about
And the sound, it sounded like a
Talk
howl.
about that thing for bikers.
And I'm like, did I anger a Harley biker? But now I'm worried. Then I just stop and I sit there. I'm like, this is strange. What am I going to do? If I go home, this person is going to follow me, this ghost. What should I do? Then I'm like, wait a minute. You can hear something. I'm like, I can hear. I get so excited. So I start Son of a Gun again. He's loud. This was Son of a Gun was making this noise. So I stopped the car. Now I take out my phone. I start calling people. I can hear Son of a Gun is loud. And people are like, yeah, your car is very noisy. We know it. We can hear you from wherever. And I'm like, I didn't know that. And then people, you can hear, you're hearing.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
You know?
Your car was so loud, the first thing they thought of was, yeah, your car is loud, instead of, why is she calling me?
Exactly. And then they realized she can hear. I was so happy. I called people back home. I just called everyone and anyone until you know, like in Namibia, airtime, you really get minutes, like not just minutes, minutes for days.
Fadas.
So if you're
Fada.
going to be calling people, you are seriously committed to these things. It even got dark and I was still parked there telling people that I can hear son of a gun. I was so happy. So there's a huge mall close to the house. So I decided I'll drive around the mall just to hear son of a gun. I was so excited. I've never been so happy to hear so much noise. I drove round and I'm like, she's loud. Oh, he's loud. I love this baby. I didn't know he was so loud. I thought he was so quiet, Nobody could hear me. I was so happy.
When you're going around the mall, people are probably expecting to see like a pubescent teenager making all the revving noises.
Who cares? Who
And
cares?
then they see
I'm tiny. They
it's
wouldn't
5 foot barbs.
I'm just going. Then
Doing
I went
donuts
home.
in the mall.
I was so happy. My hearing was back. And son of a gun was loud. I loved him.
That's a great story.
I know, right?
Son of a gun. So you've been through so much in your life with your 14 surgeries, your conditions that came with that. How does that impact your ability to now help people deal with pain? Because you said compassion over empathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you not in any way feel like it helps you kind of understand what you're talking about deeper? Because I would think it would inform you more. For instance, if I was trying to learn about playing basketball,
Mm-hmm.
I would want to hear from somebody who's played the game. You see what I'm saying? I would take what Shaq says all day, every day over what any one of my relatives says. I'm listening to them, to Kobe. I want to hear what Kobe says. I want to hear what LeBron says, not you who read a book about it, really. So you've dealt with...
Are we getting personal here? This sounds very personal.
It is.
But-
It is.
I think that's not a really good example.
Okay.
Comparing, with basketball, there are rules. There's a certain way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do this, it won't work. You understand? But with pain, it's a bit different. We deal with pain in different ways. For example, like we maybe let me first say what it has helped me is to understand, to be more understanding. I cannot argue with someone that they are not in pain because they don't look like they are in pain. You understand? I've had many people look at me and tell me, you don't look like you have this or you are like this. But you don't know what I go through every day. Like I was telling you, in the morning I was not feeling okay. I had to drug up for me to be smiling. I could be higher right now. We don't know.
You're 5 foot. I don't think you
I could be floating in the air. Who knows? But you see, I understand. It has taught me to be patient. Because pain does not have a face. Pain does not have a color. You can't tell that someone is going through something just by looking at them. I had an interesting encounter the other day. I've been told that I have a resting bitch face, which I probably do have. But I was also in pain on this other day. And this girl thought it was the usual resting bitch face. She just dismissed everything. And she thought I was giving her attitude. But I was actually in so much pain.
Unrestful bitch face.
No, there was no bitch there. There was no bitching. I was just in pain.
Okay.
But because people already expect a certain
They
look,
now project it back.
yes. And they just assume certain things. So it's the same with pain. You can't say because I'm not groaning or whatnot, then I'm not in pain. The fact that I use my extra legs it's a sign that I feel pain every day when
Your
I
four
walk,
by fours.
you know. But then they are beautiful. Who knows? Maybe I just like the pink
Everything
legs.
you rock with is stylish.
Thank you.
The clappers have become iconic at our
I
show.
know, right?
Like with the day you walked in with the clappers, you stopped the show, and everybody wanted to hold them.
I know, and take pictures with the clappers.
The last show, one of the ladies who came to the show, she's like, "Where's the lady with the clappers?" That's how they know you now at the show.
You see? So, of course, it's also, you have to look good. You can't look like you're paying. That is
Can't look
ridiculous.
like your problems.
No, no. In my case, like you're paying. And if I'm feeling too much pain, I stay at home. I avoid being in public. Also, because I discovered years later that when I was at school, like, I was born with autoimmune disease. So I've always been sick. One thing or the other has been going on with me. So I would fall sick, maybe miss school for 2 days. Maybe on the third day, I'm actually feeling good. That's me saying, oh, I feel good, I can go to school. And then I go to school, and people look at me and they think, oh, she's going to die. So it seems the boys in my class would bet on when I was going to fall dead. So it was one of them. Now it's just some men that I went to school
Some comrade.
with, comrade from school, who was telling me that, yeah, people used to bet on when you are dying.
Oh, you didn't know until you were an adult?
Yeah,
I thought you knew when you were a kid.
doing that. No, I just knew people used to talk about me. And some people would avoid me when I come and I think I'm feeling better. I look good. Yet I'm looking like I'm about to die.
You're looking ready for the morgue.
Yet I'm still here.
If you had found out when you were a kid, you should have now started taking the bets yourself, because then if you lose, you don't have to pay
I think it would have traumatized me. Because I didn't know. Like, for example, I got diagnosed with it was called rheumatoid juvenile arthritis. Juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. Because it's arthritis, but it attacks you when you are a kid. And you're born with it anyway. So, in my ears, the doctor said, I have romantic arthritis. So, I was 8, right? And the doctor said, you have romantic. Romantic is an exciting word. I don't know what it means.
First love,
I felt so bougie, I went to school, told everyone I've got romantic. The doctor told me I have romantic. Everyone envied me, So I was the envy of the class. With my swollen knees, if you see my knees, they have stretch marks. They get swollen, and then when the swelling comes down, obviously you get stretch marks.
Okay.
So it was so bougie, like I have romantic, and people would say, oh no, Barbs is romantic. She's sick. No, her romantic is worse these days. And people were like, oh, she's got romantic. So, I just grew up thinking I had this bougie thing. I didn't know what it was. I didn't realize one day I'll be using 4 legs. But I'm still happy. It's romantic around the knees there. I have romantic knees. So I think that not knowing what the romantic was, and me hearing romantic instead of rheumatoid, it saved me a lot, because for me it was something cool, I never
something
thought
you can own.
Yeah, I didn't think I was suffering. Of course, there was the pain and the unending tablets and the injections and everything. But it was so cool. I had a unique disease. But then later you discover, romantic has nothing to do with sick. So what did the doctor say? Imagine going back to my mother, and then she tells me what the doctor said. And she couldn't believe that I actually didn't know all those years. Because to me, I had romantic knees, It was something I would just hoy everywhere. Like when someone talks to me, I have romantic knees. The doctor said my knees are romantic.
These are not pogo knees.
They have special knees. But also, the way my mom didn't treat me differently. I still cleaned. She would make these fancy cushions for my knees. I would tie these romantic nice cushions, so that I could kneel down and clean back then there were no tiles. You cleaned floor polish.
Cobra.
No, first you mop, cobra, then the brush,
The
and
Shining?
the shining. I
Yo.
did all this stuff. And if my hands were like they get swollen now, at least we have arthritic gloves. So I'll call them romantic gloves. I
Romantic
think I can
gloves.
call them that too. So now with the romantic gloves, they help with the swelling. So if my hands were swollen, she would make sure I don't do excessive work. But she made me do normal things. And she, I don't know, maybe it's because she felt sorry for the hands. Now I'm thinking it could be because I never liked cooking even as a kid. And she never forced me. So when I say I don't cook, I actually don't cook. I still think it's a scam. And my father is a professional chef.
Ooh.
My mother cooked. She cooked better than him, though.
He was just the one who wanted to monetize.
Yeah, he's the one who wanted to show off his certificates and stuff. But my mom cooked better than him. And she never really forced me to cook. Maybe it was because of the hands. I don't know. I have no evidence. But it could be. Now that I'm thinking about it. So I had a pretty normal childhood, but people like my siblings, because they saw how different I was and how different I am even now, they would point out things like, but that was not normal. You thought that was normal. That's not what normal people did, or that's not what normal kids did. I'm like, oh, that was normal for me, so it doesn't matter. But I had a pretty normal childhood.
That's so interesting. In Nebraska, I used to teach swimming during the summers, and there was this one kid who he was black, but he grew up around a lot of other white kids, so he didn't know he was black.
Oh.
And so we're in the class, and there was another teacher who was black. They thought we were brothers, and so we're like, "You guys think we're brothers because we're black?" And they were like, "Yeah." And they're like, "What about him? Do you think he's our brother?" And he goes, "What? I'm not black. I'm chubby." So, he was like, "Black? No, I don't identify with those struggles. I'm chubby."
Oh, wow.
So it's interesting. Do you think knowing too much information about what's wrong with you can make it worse?
In my case, I think it helped me understand myself better.
Not knowing or knowing?
Knowing. Well, the bliss was in thinking it was romantic, but as you grow older, you need to understand what's happening to your body, why this is happening, why I can't do this, why, so many things. Like understanding why my hair was falling off, understanding why my skin acts the way it does. I have pretty good skin when it's okay. And when it decides to break out, you will just wonder what has happened. We thought she had good skin.
Catfish.
Exactly. And all these allergies, I'm allergic to so many things. I'm allergic to dust. I'm allergic to pollen. I think there's a pollen. I'm actually feeling one of my ear, well, the good ear, the ear that, this one is partially deaf.
It's there to hold the other beautiful
we are not
earring.
talking about it. But the good ear, it's actually getting blocked. I think there's some pollen that I'm allergic to here right now. If I eat fish, I grow scales. I could be a mermaid. We are still yet to figure that out.
I'm leaning on the
I
robot.
need to be eaten. I'm yet to eat enough fish to get a tail.
The mermaid
Oh,
tail.
that would be so cool.
But then can you sing and do the look at the isn't it neat?
The voice will come.
You'll learn on the ropes.
There's this guy, a friend of mine. He's a musician. So we were talking and laughing. And he's like, Barbs, you don't know how to sing, right? And I'm like, how do you know? He said, I can hear the discord in your voice.
In your
as we were
voice.
talking. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I speak in discord. Who knew that?
Unnecessary violence on the plane.
I thought it was cool. It makes me unique. I don't mind.
Which a lot of interesting speakers, they break the expectation of what is expected. Like, for instance, if you speak the way everyone else does, then you blend in. But if you have that weird thing in your voice, it becomes like even the great singers I like the olden day, like what's her name? Not even olden day, but modern one, Halsey. I love her voice because it's so weird.
It is. Do you think I can be a singer?
I'm gonna go with the professionals on that one. Defer to them.
Mm.
I'll trust them on this.
I was going to sing for you, but it's okay.
You know what? We can have
No, please, let's
a
not.
Bulawayo idol.
I'll get the hood and mic.
If you impress the tech team, you get Lolita.
It's okay. I'll love her from afar. I'm not going to sing. I'll scare myself.
You scare
If I
yourself.
scare you guys.
So, real quick before we end here, there's one thing I want to find out. Over time, people have become more aware of conditions, and you talked about how, for a time, it helped you get through it because you didn't know it was a disease, a negative thing in your life. So you portrayed it in a good way. If, say, I'm going through an intense period in my life, like, for instance, I might be depressed because I don't have any money or something is going on. If I still need to get out of the situation I am and there's still lots of mileage ahead of me, is it then beneficial to still address it in the moment? Or is it better to say, go through it, be very unhappy but still working, or diagnose myself and then go, not myself, or get diagnosed immediately and then work through it in the moment? Or is there benefit to letting it play out, get out of the situation, and then address the well-being afterwards?
That's tricky. How do you get out of the situation?
Just work unhappy.
I think, like the example I gave you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm grieving many years later.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of years later.
Mm-hmm.
So it will always be there.
Mm.
It will haunt you. You need to deal with whatever you're going through. And it's not always that. Sometimes you can address more than one issue at a time.
Mm.
You can work towards maybe turning your situation around while you are also getting therapy for whatever trauma you have.
Very concise. We got to do this again. Thank you so much for having a sit down with me, ladies and gentlemen, Barbs.
Thank you for having me.